Imagine a Roman villa so grandiose it looks like an entire city of stone, defying time and reflected in the water. But don't call it a cave, because this place holds a far more fascinating secret. Set like a jewel on the northernmost tip of the Sirmione Peninsula, in the glittering heart of Lake Garda, stand ruins that at first glance seem to dance on the crystalline waters. They are the Grotte di Catullo, a name that deceives, evoking images of dark natural caves. But what we are about to discover together is something infinitely more impressive: the majestic remains of the most luxurious and gigantic Roman villa of the ancient imperial aristocracy. It is not a cave, but rather the testimony of an age of splendor and ingenuity, a stone colossus that almost seems to float, surrounded by the peaceful guard of centuries old olive trees, a green embrace that has lasted for millennia. Prepare yourself for a journey through time, where human ambition and the wild beauty of nature merge into an eternal work of art, and where every stone tells a story that has gone unheard for too long. The first visual impact is, to say the least, shocking. When arriving in Sirmione, the Scaligero castle greets visitors with its imposing beauty, but few prepare for the sight that awaits them at the tip of the peninsula. There, where the land almost plunges into the lake, a labyrinth of majestic arches and broken columns rises toward the sky, panoramic terraces that once hosted banquets and philosophies, all immersed in a breathtaking blue. These are not rocks carved by time or by the fury of nature, but architectures created by the hand of man, designed to amaze, to last, to celebrate power and luxury. Walking among these ruins is a bit like entering an ancient dream, where the sun filters through the remains of what were once windows and doors, illuminating a lost but incredibly tangible world. Every corner, every fragment of wall seems to whisper stories of a glorious past, of emperors, poets, and aristocrats who found their refuge here from the chaos of the world, an oasis of peace and grandeur. But then, why Grotte di Catullo? This is the first major problem we must face, one of those historical labels that, while evocative, distance us from the truth. The name comes from an incorrect but understandable attribution. Over the centuries, the ruins, partly collapsed and covered by vegetation, appeared as cavities and ravines, so much so that they were thought to be real natural caves. Added to this was the legend that the famous Latin poet Gaius Valerius Catullus, born in Verona in the 1st century BC, owned a villa in Sirmione, as he himself testifies in some of his poems, such as the poem Cit Ciccinigent, Pena insularum Sirmio insularumque ocelle, quascumque in liquentibus stagnis, marice vasto fertu terque Neptunus. O Sirmione, eye of the peninsulas and islands, how many more does Neptune support in the clear ponds and in the vast sea? While it is plausible that Catullus had property in the area, scholars agree that the villa we admire today was built well after his death, probably between the end of the 1st century BC and the beginning of the 1st century AD. It was without a doubt the home of one of the richest and most influential families of the Roman imperial aristocracy, an affirmation of status and power set in stone. This was not simply a house, it was a summer residential complex that surpassed the size and luxury of any other home of the time. Imagine the Romans, skilled builders and lovers of beauty, choosing the most scenic point of Sirmione to build their villa. It's no coincidence. Its location offered natural protection on three sides and a breathtaking 360-degree view of the lake, a panorama that still leaves you breathless today. The complex was enormous, covering approximately 2 hectares, and included not only the master's quarters but also private baths, hanging gardens, colonnades, porticos, and who knows what other wonders. The design ambition was such that parts of the peninsula had to be leveled, creating artificial platforms to support the mass of the buildings. It was no small task, especially with the tools of the time. Here, all the greatness of Roman engineering is on display. To enter the remains of this colossal villa is to understand Roman architectural mastery. The foundations, in particular, are a masterpiece of engineering. To support the weight of such a vast structure on unstable ground, gigantic underground cryptoporticos were built. These were not just service spaces or storage areas, they were actual support galleries, dark and mysterious, which served as a solid foundation for the buildings above. Imagine these cool, dark tunnels stretching for hundreds of meters beneath the villa, a testament to the complexity and foresight of its construction. They were like the roots of a giant tree, invisible but essential to its survival. Today, these cryptoporticos are still partially accessible and offer a unique perspective on the grandeur of the work, making us feel tiny in the face of such ingenuity. But the villa was not just an engineering triumph, it was also a place of refined beauty and contemplation. The panoramic terraces, of which only fragments remain today, were the true jewels of the residence. From here, the gaze was lost in the infinity of the lake, a blue that merged with the horizon, offering a view that inspired generations. It is easy to imagine Roman poets, perhaps Catullus himself, though in an earlier villa, or guests at the villa, sitting on these terraces, watching the boats plying the waters, the mountains rising on the horizon, and finding in this scenery their muse. How many immortal verses have been conceived here? How many philosophical reflections have taken shape under the Garda sun? The beauty of the landscape was meant to be a constant invitation to creation, meditation, and the enjoyment of life. It was not just a place to live, but to be, to feel, to rise. A fascinating aspect is water management. The Romans were masters at this. The villa was equipped with a complex water system that guaranteed the supply of drinking and thermal water. It is thought that water was pumped directly from the lake or nearby springs and then distributed through lead pipes and canals. The private baths, an indispensable luxury for the Roman aristocracy, were a vital center of the villa. Here people socialized, exercised, and dedicated themselves to well being. Imagine the steam rising from the caldariums, the sound of running water, the laughter and conversations echoing through the decorated rooms. It wasn't just hygiene, it was a ritual, an integral part of daily life and social prestige. The richness of the materials used for the construction and decoration of the villa further testifies to its luxury. Mosaic floors, vivid frescoes adorned the walls, marble statues graced the gardens and courtyards, and columns made from fine marbles imported from every corner of the empire. Even though today we only see ruins, with a little imagination and the help of archaeological reconstructions, we can visualize the splendor that once characterized this place. The colors, the details, the artisanal precision, everything was designed to create a sublime aesthetic experience for anyone who lived or was a guest there. Every step inside the villa was an immersion in an open air work of art. With the decline of the Roman Empire, the villa also suffered the inevitable fate of abandonment and ruin. In the following centuries, its stones were reused to build other buildings in Sirmione, a common process of archaeological plundering that fortunately did not completely erase its traces. It was only from the 15th century that interest in these ruins began to revive, with the first antiquarians and humanists identifying them, albeit erroneously, with the Villa of Catullus. The first real excavation and valorization campaigns began only in the 19th century and continued intensely in the 20th century, bringing to light much of what we see today. It is a work of continuous rediscovery, a constant dialogue with the past that allows us to reconstruct, piece by piece, the history of this extraordinary place. Visiting the grottos of Catullus today is more than just a stroll among ancient stones, it's a profound sensory and intellectual experience. It is a journey through time that connects us directly with the greatness of Rome, not only through its military conquests or its laws, but through its ability to create beauty, to harmonize architecture with the landscape, to conceive spaces that uplift the spirit. The perfect combination of the engineering grandeur of ancient Rome and the wild, unspoiled beauty of the surrounding nature is palpable at every glance. Here, man's skill has been able to enhance the grandeur of the place, creating a frame for the lake which, in turn, with its changing light and its infinite horizons, has preserved the wonder of this site for 2,000 years. The Grotte di Catullo continue to enchant the world, not only history buffs and archaeologists, but anyone who is sensitive to beauty and mystery. Students, travelers, art lovers, everyone finds something special here. It is an inspiring place which makes you reflect on the transience of things and the eternity of certain creations. As the wind caresses the ancient stones and the sun reflects on the water, you feel a profound connection with those who, 2,000 years ago, walked on these same foundations, looked at the same lake, and perhaps, like us, felt part of something immensely greater. It is a privilege to walk among these ruins, to touch history with your own hands, to hear the echoes of a bygone era. It is a unique opportunity to be fascinated by a legacy that is not only preserved in museums or textbooks, but which continues to live and inspire, reminding us of our capacity to create beauty and the power of nature to embrace and preserve it. The grottos of Catullus are a warning, a song of stone that reminds us that even among ruins, beauty and ingenuity can flourish and enchant forever. If this journey through time has fascinated you, don't miss our next archaeological mystery.